Hi everyone, it's Sarah and welcome to my crochet channel. Today's video I'm going to show you how to crochet a sweater coffee mug cozy that's Christmassy. Now you can make it in any colors that you want to. It's just super cute for Christmas. It makes a great addition for maybe a ugly sweater party or just a fun Christmassy sweater mug cozy. Now you can find this free crochet pattern on my blog, and I'll put that blog link down in the notes underneath this video. To make some sweater coffee mug cozies, you're going to need some medium weight yarn. You need about an ounce of the red and maybe a half ounce of the green. These yarns are I Love This Yarn from Hobby Lobby in the metallic or sparkle colors. For today's demonstration, I'm just going to use a blue and a white that is Red Heart Super Saver. You're going to need to use a medium weight number 4 yarn. You can use acrylic, you can use cotton, or you can use a blend, as long as it's a medium weight number 4 yarn. I'll be using the blue for the body and the sleeves, and the white for the trim. You're also going to need a decorative button, if you want to put one on the front, and then you'll need another button that's maybe about a ½ inch to an inch to button in the back. We're going to be stitching today with our H hook. It's a 5.0 millimeter crochet hook. You'll need a needle to sew on your buttons and weave in your ends, and then of course you'll need your scissors. The last thing you're going to need is a coffee mug. And a good place to look for just some plain white basic coffee mugs is your restaurant stores, but also thrift stores and Goodwill stores. A lot of times when restaurants change out their coffee cups and dishes and things, they'll donate those to your local thrift stores, and then you can get them very inexpensive. But you can also find them at Walmarts and Targets and places like that as well. We're going to start with our main color, and I'm using blue. We'll begin with our slip knot, and then we'll chain 11 chains. Here's my 11 chains. We're going to begin stitching in the second chain from the hook. We don't count the loop on our crochet hook. There's the first one, and so in the second chain from the hook we're going to stitch a half double crochet. So we'll yarn over, go in the chain, and pull up a loop. We'll yarn over and go through all 3 of those loops. And what we're going to do is stitch 1 half double crochet in each of the chains across, and that's going to give us 10 half double crochets. We chained 11 and we began stitching our half double crochets in the second chain from the hook, and so that's going to give us 10 half double crochets. And I like using the half double crochet because it's a little bigger than a single crochet, but it's a little shorter than a double crochet, and it's a nice compact stitch. Alright, so there's my 10 half double crochets, and I'm going to chain 1, and that's how row 1 should look. For row 2, we've already chained 1, so we're going to turn our work, and to chain 1 does not count as a stitch, and so we're going to begin stitching 1 half double crochet in each of the stitches across. So there's my yarn over. I go in the first stitch, pull up a loop, yarn over, and go through all 3. And I will stitch 1 half double crochet in each of the 10 half double crochets across. chain 1, and turn. So now we have 2 rows of 10 half double crochets. So now what we're going to do for the next 16 rows is we're going to repeat row 2, chain 1, turn, and 1 half double crochet in each of the 10 stitches across, and repeat for 16 rows. And this will give us a total of 18 rows. Just to repeat, 1 half double crochet in each of the 10 half double crochets across, chain 1, turn, and repeat for 16 rows. I've completed my additional 16 rows, and now we're going to begin the decreases in order to form the button tab. And the way we do that is we're going to stitch the first 2 half double crochets together. So we'll yarn over, go in the first stitch and pull up a loop. Then we'll go in the next stitch and pull up a loop. You'll have 4 loops on your hook instead of the 3. Yarn over and go through all 4 of those stitches or loops. And by doing that, we combine the first and the second half double crochet together. We're going to have double crochet in the next 6 stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And then we're going to do the same thing on the end. Yarn over, go in the next loop and pull up a loop. Then we'll go in the last stitch and pull up a loop. We'll have 4 loops on our hook, yarn over and go through all 4, chain 1, and turn. And so now, instead of having 10 half double crochets, we only have 8. All right, we're going to do that again. Of course, now we only have 8 stitches, so we're going to have less stitches between. Yarn over, go in the first stitch and pull up a loop. Go in the next stitch and pull up a loop. Yarn over, go through all 4. Then we'll have double crochet in the next 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then we'll stitch the next 2 together. Yarn over, go in the next stitch, pull up a loop, go in that last stitch, pull up a loop, yarn over and go through all 4, chain 1, and turn. And we'll repeat that again. Yarn over, go in the first stitch and pull up a loop, go in the next stitch and pull up a loop, yarn over, go through all 4, half double crochet in the next 2, and then stitch those last 2 together. And chain 1. And that brings us down to just having 4 half double crochets. Chain 1 and turn, and now we're just going to place 1 half double crochet in each of those 4. So yarn over, we'll go in the first one, stitch a half double crochet, 1, 2, 3, and 4. And then we'll chain 1 and turn, and we'll repeat that. 1 half double crochet in each of those 4. 1, 2, 3, and 4. And chain 1. And you can see how that's forming a tab. So now, instead of just chaining 1, we're going to chain 3. So there's 1, 2, 3. Now we're going to turn this and we're going to join it to the last half double crochet with a slip stitch. There we go. And now we have a buttonhole loop. Now, Make sure your button's going to go through that loop just fine. If you're using a little bit bigger button, you may want to add a chain or two to make your button loop just a little bit bigger. All right, so now we're going to tie off and we'll weave in this end and this end. We're going to add the trim to the main piece first, and so we're going to take our white, we're going to go right in that space made by that chain 3. All right, so now what we're going to do is we're going to stitch 4 single crochets in this space. 1, 2, 3, and 4. All right, so there's our buttonhole. And now what we're going to do is we're going to evenly single crochet down the side, across the bottom, and then back up, and we'll join where we started. And we're going to be stitching single crochets. And the key to getting a nice even row of single crochets is to try to stitch your single crochets evenly in the side of the stitches and not the holes. When you're working with half double crochets, it's a little bit easier, or I should say when you're stitching into the sides of half double crochets, it's a little bit easier than if you're working in like a double crochet or a triple or any of the fancy stitches, because the half double crochet stitches are closer together. They're a nice compact stitch. So what I'm doing is I'm evenly stitching down the side of my coffee cozy main section, main piece, and I'm stitching single crochets, and you can see I'm just evenly stitching down the side, and I'll continue till I get down to this corner. I'll stitch 3 in the corner, I'll work across the bottom, stitch 3 in that corner, and then work my way back up where I started. I've worked my way down the side. Here's the first corner at the bottom. I stitched 3 single crochets, and now I'm stitching across the bottom of my koozie or cozy, however you want to say that. And the bottom section here is pretty easy because you can just put a stitch in each of those chains we started with. And now I'm to the corner, so I'm going to put 3 single crochets in this corner. And by putting 3 in the 2 corners there, it just helps it move around smoothly and look nice and neat. All right, so I'm just going to work my way back up the side, and I'll join to that first single crochet where I started. I finished stitching up the side with single crochets evenly, so now it's completely stitched up all on the outside, and I joined back to my first single crochet. I tied off and then weaved in my ends. And so now it's ready for the sleeves. I've already made one sleeve here. It's really simple and easy to make, and I'll show you how to do that. We're going to use our main color again. We're going to make a slip knot, and we're going to chain 9. We're going to place a single crochet in the second chain from the hook. There's the first one, here's the second one. We'll be stitching the sleeve all in single crochets. We'll place 1 single crochet in each of the chains. And again, we started in the second chain from the hook, so we'll have 8 single crochets since we started with the chain 9. So I have 8 single crochets. I'm going to chain 1 and turn, and then I'm going to place 1 single crochet in each of those single crochets, which again will get me 8 single crochets. So now what we're going to do is we're going to repeat this row 2 of our sleeve 5 more times so that we have 7 rows of 8 single crochets. So chain 1, turn, and 1 single crochet in each of the single crochets across, and we'll continue this for 5 more rows or until we have 7 rows completed. I've stitched those 5 additional rows for a total of 7 rows. I'm going to cut my yarn because I'm finished with the blue, and I'm going to bring in the white so I can add that little trim on the end of my sweater, like a little cuff. Alright, so I brought my white in, I chained 1, and I'm just going to do another row of single crochets across. Alright, so I'm going to cut my yarn, but I'm going to leave myself about 10 or 12 inches because we're going to use this to close up the side of our sleeve and then also sew it onto our cozy. Alright, so I'm going to tie that off. I'm going to take a minute and weave these ends in, and then I'll show you how to fold it up, sew it up, and put it on your cozy. Alright, what we're going to do is we're going to fold this in half. We're going to thread the long tail that we left on our needle. Make sure everything's lined up, and then we'll just do some stitches. I make sure I do a couple right in the cuff because I want that to stay put. And then we're just going to whip stitch up the side. Don't worry, if your yarn's a different color, it's not going to show. This is the part that will be against the cozy. Alrighty. And then we'll take this and we'll smash it this way so that the seam is right on the back of our sleeve. Alright, so now we have 2 sleeves. Let's put them on our cozy. Now we want to center the sleeves in the middle of our cozy. So what I do, now you decide which side you want to be the front and which side you want to be the back. I want this to be my front, so I'm going to fold this where I would want that button. We're not going to sew the button on just yet, but I fold it in half like this. That way I know where I want to put my sleeves. And I like to kind of set them so that they're kind of facing inward like this, but you can do them straight. You can stick them straight out if you want to. It's your cozy. You can do it how you want. All right, so I'm going to do them kind of like this. So I'll go ahead and take this one. I'm going to flip it up, make a few stitches, making sure that I grab both those layers, the front and the back of my sleeve. And you just need a few stitches, 3 or 4. I'm going to put 5 just in case. All right, then we'll tie that off. And we want this to lay down, right? So we're going to bring it down, and then we're just going to tack it from underneath. We'll go under here, just like that. And I'll make a couple stitches. And then I'm going to go ahead and tie a knot. And that's just going to hold that sleeve down where we want it. And you know I like to tie 3 knots. And you can use a little bit of fray check or fabric glue on that knot if you want to. Alright, so there's the one sleeve, and now I'm going to do the other one. I've got both my sleeves on. They're all tacked down. They're not going anywhere. And I chose to use a snowflake for my button. That's decorative, so I'm just going to make some stitches going through that, Make sure it's going to stay put. And again, I'm going to tie those 3 knots. And again, if you want to put a little fray check on there or a little bit of fabric glue. The reason I don't recommend hot glue on things that are going to be around warm things is because hot glue can melt and you end up with it being a little bit squishy. All right, so there's my snowflake. And the last thing I need to do is my button. And so we're going to fold this back so we can see where the button goes. Put the button on, and it has a little bit of a snowflake look to it. And it depends on what size mug you're going to put this on, how snug you want to do that. Now, this one needs to be really stitched in good because you're probably going to be buttoning it and unbuttoning it many times. There we go. And for the 3rd time, we need to knot this 3 times, making sure it's not going to go anywhere, because that's what's going to hold our button or our koozie onto our mug. So here's my mug. We'll slide the side in through the ear of the mug, button that up, and if it's tight, it's okay. You want it to hold. There we go. And there's our snowflake Christmas sweater koozie.